What up, what up, what up, everybody? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, if we still even call it that. It's been a while since I've seen that commercial, but it still sticks with me. You guys, what a great day it is, even though I was supposed to speak at Georgetown University tonight for the next installment of the 10 Lies That Pro-Choicers Believe tour with Kristen Hawkins. We were at the University of New Hampshire last night, which I'll tell you about in just a second. And we were supposed to go together to Georgetown tonight. But apparently, even as a Georgetown alum who paid my fair share in tuition dollars, I am too controversial to go speak at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. So that's great. Guess who won't be donating to her alumni association ever, no matter how much money I make? Good times. It's okay. We're just going to be controversial on the stream instead. And I'm very happy that I get to be home in the studio talking with you guys today on this beautiful Wednesday. I was at the University of New Hampshire last night, my first ever visit to the state of New Hampshire, as well as the University of New Hampshire. Our event was great. We had some really phenomenal conversation with people who really did want to ask us questions about the abortion industry and why myself and Kristen Hawkins, who I was speaking with, are pro-life. We also were protested outside the venue in the hallway of the same building by about 200 people who were screaming and playing trumpets and trombones the whole time, trying to get the event shut down. We went out and invited all of those people in, but they didn't want to come in. So I wish we would have had more opportunity for conversation, but will say that the University of New Hampshire was really great in keeping us safe and allowing the event to continue. So I was very, very positively surprised by all of that, given what happened at Virginia Commonwealth University last week. I've got a few more speaking events this semester, and then I'm done for a few months, which is honestly really refreshing because I have been on dozens of airplanes in the last month and a half or so, and there is nothing quite as lovely as sleeping in your own bed. I am coming to learn. So life is great. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'm super pumped to do our stream this afternoon. We are live concurrently across platforms right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble with our Getter Gang, and of course over on Locals. Locals, by the way, is where we will be doing our post-stream Q&A for all of our Locals supporters over there. If you guys want to join us, I am dropping the link in the live chat right now. And tomorrow we have the next episode coming out of one of our Locals exclusive series, Domus, which you guys know and love if you're already over in our Locals community, in our little family over there. Got all kinds of really fun stuff coming your way with our Locals exclusive content, and that's where we are doing all of our Q&As after the streams from here on out. So hopefully you guys can join us no matter what platform you are watching on when we are done with our stream. Today, we have a lot of new people around here, which is super exciting. So I'll take a second and do what I haven't done in a little bit and reintroduce myself if you guys are first-time viewers for the stream. If you are watching for the first time, I don't care what platform you are on, drop your name and where you are watching from in our live chat, because it's always super fun for me to see that and get to know you guys a little bit better. But if you're new around here and you're like, who is this chick? Why is there a light up corgi behind her? There's a lot going on. My name is Isabel Brown. I am an independent Gen Z content creator, and every day at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm going live with you guys to break down current events, trending news, what's happening on TikTok, everything in culture, and everything in between from a Gen Z perspective. We have a lot of fun here on the stream, and it is truly live, happening right in front of your face in real time as we interact with our live chat. If you guys like what I have to say, if you don't like what I have to say, if you have questions, feedback, anything, drop all of that in the chat throughout the stream today. And boy, I bet you guys are going to have a lot to drop in our chat this afternoon, because a lot is going on in the news cycle this week. Let's say hi to some people as we get started. LGM is watching on YouTube. JJ is watching on YouTube. We've got Kai on YouTube. Our high school friends from Texas are here. You guys, you got to up the names on YouTube. C Rizzy and K Rizzy are just not going to cut it. That is L Riz, okay? You got to step up the game. I'm wildly unimpressed, as is my fiance. But you guys are here on YouTube, and I'm glad that you are here. I did miss you, so I'm glad that you're watching in the stream right now. Steven is watching over on Facebook. We've got Murta watching on YouTube. Jay from Minnesota is watching on Facebook. We've got Cooper watching from France. Bonsoir, Cooper. So glad you are here. Red Scorpion is watching on YouTube. We've got several people over on Rumble, including more people in our chat. I'm so proud of you, Rumble gang. Thank you for using our chat. I know sometimes it's glitchy and it won't let you guys put your thoughts in here, but whenever you have the opportunity to, please do. Troy is watching from San Francisco behind enemy lines over on Rumble. Bobanak is watching from Alaska, my favorite place. You guys know that, right? Someday I'm going to live there, and it's going to be phenomenal. It is the best state in the union, tied with Hawaii. We love Alaska around these parts. And, of course, our locals fam, Johnny Diamond, Alex Padron, M-Rock, and Magic Def, and several others of you are watching over on Locals. Glad you are here. And to round things out with our introductions and saying hello, let's jump over to the OG Getter gang. Scooter Guy is watching. Altorna is watching. Michael Priest is watching. Gerald is here. Coffee Breath, which is what I have right now, is watching from a windy Nevada. Tats is watching. Chuck is watching from Wyoming. Kanad is watching from Missouri. Amazing, you guys. I am so glad all of you are here. What I'm not so glad about is what we have to talk about today. I'll start with the more bombshell story, I think, and then we'll go into the part that we all knew was happening, but we're just saying the quiet part out loud now. I don't know if you guys have spent any time over on Twitter today. Probably not, because it's where dreams go to die, and genuinely, I believe, is just a horrible cesspool of people wanting to make each other really angry all the time. So I don't spend a lot of time over on Twitter, but I happened to go over there and just scroll through the trending section earlier this morning after flying back in from Boston early this morning, and happened to see that trending on Twitter was our friends again over at The View. Like Lizzo, whenever we cover Lizzo on these live streams, you guys ask me every time, Isabel, why on God's green earth do we keep giving these people screen time? Because they keep giving us gifts of their complete incompetence is why. It's a very simple answer. The View is the gift that keeps on giving to rational, sane, kind, lovely people like myself and all of you that watch this stream. Today, they seem to have really outdone themselves in just how crazy they can possibly be. And I'm convinced that they actually all just sit around in the green room every single day before they do this show and ask each other, what is the craziest possible thing that we could say on national television today to basically get us kicked off the air, to make us apologize, to get us into a lawsuit? What can we possibly do to stay remotely relevant as a show by saying the most outrageous thing possible and make people really angry? I'm convinced this is what they do every single day, which is why we all pay attention. So maybe it is just coming full circle genius marketing, but maybe they just really are that stupid. And I think we owe it to ourselves to at least ask the question, are they that stupid? The View has gotten in a lot of trouble in the last several years, but months in particular, calling all conservatives who went to a Turning Point USA event Nazis because people completely unaffiliated with the event standing outside who were not let in were waving a Nazi flag. They've said all kinds of just wild things that we have unpacked on the stream many, many, many times. But today, trending over on Twitter, The View took the cake for the craziest thing that they have ever said, in my humble opinion. Without further ado, I give you maybe the worst clip The View has ever had on the internet. Wrong buttons, you guys. Crazy times. Okay, watch this.
This before, and I'm going to get in trouble. But I have said this before, and it's been in print. I don't know what the difference between our Christian right and the Taliban is. I have no idea what the difference is.
You're not the only person who's said that.
I just don't know what the difference is. Yeah. What's happening in this country right now in the name of religion is so dangerous.
Okay, let's play that again. This was said on national television that there is no difference. I don't see a difference. I don't understand the difference. There is essentially no difference between the Christian right in America and the Taliban. Let's just play it again to make sure we heard that right.
And I'm going to get in trouble. But
You are going to get in trouble. I'm glad they're at least like aware of it up front. At least they self-acknowledge this.
I have said this before, and it's been in print.
I've said it before. So this is not the first time that Patty has said this.
I don't know what the difference between our Christian right and the Taliban is.
I don't know what the difference between our Christian right and the Taliban is.
I have no idea what the difference is.
You're not the only person who's said that.
You're not the only... I mean, that's the first time I've heard that, Whoopi Goldberg. Maybe it's just me.
I just don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
What's happening in this country right now in the name of religion is so dangerous.
Okay, so if you don't know what the difference between the Christian right and the Taliban is, and we're looking at this through the lens of what's happening in this country in the name of religion, let's just create a handy little flow chart for our friend Patty and our friend Whoopi over on the View panel today. What is happening in the name of religion in America today? Anybody want to venture a guess for over here what the Christian right in America looks like today? Okay. Asking for the freedom to worship freely without the FBI tracking us if we're going to mass. Okay, that can go in this column. Asking for freedom of expression and freedom of speech, particularly in the digital age that is censoring Christians. Okay, that can go over in this column. What is happening in the name of religion in America today? Trying to stop rampant anti-Semitism against the Jewish population in the United States of America. That's going on in this column in the name of religion in America today. What else? Asking for our children of the next generation to not go through menopause before they go through any sort of puberty by taking hormone treatments without their parents' consent. That's happening in the name of religion in this column. Saying that parents should have custody of their children and not the state, as being discussed in California and Washington right now. You could say that's happening in the name of religion over in this column in America today. Okay, so that's the American Christian right. The Taliban is taking away fundamentally every right for any woman ever, including the opportunity to show your hair in public. The Taliban is saying that women cannot go outside of their homes, period, oftentimes even accompanied by a male family member. That women can't get an education, that there is no such thing as freedom of religion or freedom of speech or freedom of expression, that it is now illegal to use pretty much any social media site because you're not allowed to learn any other information than what the government run by the Taliban allows for you to have access to. That the Taliban is going to take over all curriculum in schools and radicalize the next generation of people in Afghanistan to hate the Western world entirely, probably incorporating some level of military training associated with that. That women are literally second-class citizens and are property under law. That's the Taliban column over here. Not to mention, just killing people that you disagree with and promoting acts of terrorism around the world. And, that's just a side note. Little inconvenient note there on the side. So are we really desperately trying to compare this column and this column, the American Christian right and the Taliban? Are we really good trying to make that comparison? Again, I am just convinced that The View sits around, this whole cast, in the green room right before the show and compares notes on what is the most outrageous thing that we can possibly say to remain somewhat relevant in American culture and society. I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I'm fascinated. Let's see what you guys have to say, because there's a lot going on in my mind about this. Jay says this woman is possibly worse than the Taliban. There you go. Red Scorpion says the vilification of people who engage in legitimate conversations rather than screaming or name calling is out of hand. My generation is the most broken generation ever, Gen Z. Let's see what you guys have to say on Rumble, because our chat is popping off over there, which is very exciting. Bobanak says, if you're not a total leftist, then you're on the right to these morons. That is true. I don't even think that Patty could provide a genuine definition of the American Christian right if she really wanted to. Troy says it's such a dumb comparison, LOL. Of course it is. Like, it doesn't make any sense by any means in anyone's definition of what the Taliban actually stands for. Alex Padron says, on Locals, imagine someone starting their argument like, according to The View, ... Yeah, I would lose all respect for that person immediately. No questions asked. Alex says, a simple how would shut up the entire table. African Warlord says, I'm going to get into trouble, ... says dumb thing and gets into trouble. Well, at least she's aware. I guess. At least she is aware. But are these people genuinely wondering why their ratings are just in the toilet and nobody wants to watch this show? It's because you just compared Christians in America to the frickin' Taliban. Am I crazy? Getter, you are popping off. Coffee Breath says they need to go spend some time with the Taliban, perhaps. Maybe that would be a good educational experience to at least just understand what is going on today. Nitty Witty says religion is being wokeified in America today. It already has, unfortunately. And I think as you are describing this in the chat, Nitty Witty, that the wokeification of the church is happening in America today. Sadly, I think we've already gotten there. The majority of the Christian community in America today is overwhelmingly pro-abortion, says that the Bible is not the word of God, interprets the Bible to mean different things to different people all the time. I challenge you, if you've never spent any time on TikTok, this afternoon, go search church or Christianity or whatever on TikTok, or pastor on TikTok, because you will be shocked just how woke and far to the left the American Christian community is today. So of course it doesn't align with the Taliban. Of course, Christianity in America doesn't even really align with actual Christianity, which is very sad. And that warrants a much bigger discussion, which we get into all the time with my series. Don't miss over on Locals, by the way. But I think you're right, Nitty Witty, but only partially right. Wokeification is happening, but it's already happened to the American church today. Altorna brings up a great point in our Getter chat, but the left have their own religion. You're not wrong. They just worship the government instead of God. So maybe they would prefer to live under something like the Taliban, where the government is run by those who you worship. Fascinating. Fascinating. Gerald says, according to The View, you've lost me. Correct. You're absolutely correct. I can't. So this is happening on The View, and I just had to mention it because life is crazy. But other crazy things are happening as well, and I can't believe that me, self-described Twitter hater, I am not a Twitter enthusiast, we'll just put it that way, is spending so much time talking about Twitter today. But I thought this was worth mentioning because several weeks ago, when we started getting into the Restrict Act and the Congress TikTok hearings, which were the absolute best imagery possible for the complete, total idiocracy that exists on Capitol Hill today, and the entirety of the technological illiteracy of the people running this country. For example, does TikTok connect to my Wi-Fi? Yes, it does connect to your Wi-Fi, as does every other app and internet browser that you use when you are in your house on Wi-Fi, Congress, just to clarify some things for you. I was completely stunned, amused certainly, but stunned at just how unaware and culturally uneducated the people trying to regulate the internet are about the internet. So we talked a lot about that on the stream several weeks ago. Then we really dove in deep to the Restrict Act, which is the piece of legislation coming from the United States Senate, supported by the White House and overwhelmingly gathering bipartisan support on Capitol Hill to ban TikTok, though interestingly doesn't even use the word TikTok once in the legislation and has much more to do with creating a Digital Patriot Act for the internet with surveillance and prosecution opportunities for people who present a threat to the country to democracy as domestic extremists, which we know includes me these days. Very exciting stuff. Shout out to my FBI agent who is currently watching the stream. And so we've spent a lot of time unpacking, is TikTok the problem? Is this idea that your data may or may not be secure on one app really the problem in America today? You guys know exactly where I stand on this. No, that's not the problem. And in fact, TikTok has zero evidence whatsoever that they have ever even thought about sharing your data with the Chinese Communist Party. Just now, mainstream media outlets are coming out and admitting that after being paid off for the last year by Meta to start planting those stories and changing public opinion around TikTok. But as you know, Elon Musk earlier this week went on Tucker Carlson and started talking about all kinds of stuff with artificial intelligence and the ethics behind AI and why we need to be very careful about that through Twitter and what he's doing to change the platform, and had some really interesting things to say specifically about government surveillance and about your data being accessed by people who should not have access to it on Twitter. Let's take a look and then we will react.
Before, and I'm going to get in trouble.
We don't need to rewatch this crazy person. So goodbye, Patty.
You can see what it is, and you can see what they've been doing, and you can see who's been working there. You were shocked to find out that various intel agencies were affecting its operations?
The degree to which various government agencies had effectively had full access to.
Did you hear that? Various government agencies effectively had full access to Twitter. Not to say I told you so, but
Everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind. I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes.
that would include people's direct messages. In other words, not just the FBI, but various government agencies, plural, not only had access to your data, but had access to read your direct messages on Twitter. In other words, the United States government was spying on their own citizens through a social media platform. But sure, TikTok is the problem.
Oh. Yes, because the DMs are not encrypted. So one of the first, one of the things that we're about to release is the ability to encrypt your DMs.
That's pretty heavy duty, though, because a lot of well-known people, reporters talking to their sources, government officials, the richest people in the world, they're DMing each other.
Yes, they are every single day. Particularly reporters and political figures who use Twitter as a means for communication. So if these DMs aren't encrypted and anyone can read them, and the US government is spying on these direct messages, which people are assuming safely are private messages, what are they learning?
And the assumption, obviously, it was incorrect, but was that that's private, but that was being read by various governments?
Yeah, that seems to be, yes.
It's scary.
Yes, it is.
It's not just scary, it's horrifying, and is the behind the curtain peek behind the scenes reality of why everyone wants you to pay so much attention to TikTok and your data and your privacy, because the government that's trying to ban that app doesn't want to admit that they were spying on you through Twitter.
So, like I said, we're moving to have the DMs be optionally encrypted. I mean, there's like a lot of DM conversations which are, just chatting with friends. It's not important.
Of course.
That's hopefully coming out later this month, but no later than next month, is the ability to toggle encryption on or off.
If you guys don't know much about encrypted messaging, or you're not very familiar with apps like Telegram or Signal, encrypted messaging essentially means that your messages actually are private, unlike text messages or DMs on social media. And so I'm interested to see if Twitter rolling out encrypted DMs will force other social media platforms to get on board with encrypting their DMs. I doubt it, but it is an interesting conversation when it comes to data privacy and security in the 21st century.
So if you are in a conversation you think is sensitive, you can just toggle encryption on, and then no one at Twitter can see what you're talking about.
So no one even at the company could see what you're talking about. That's super interesting.
They could put a gun to my head, and I couldn't tell. I couldn't. That's sort of the gun to the head test. If somebody puts a gun to my head, and can I still not see your DMs? That's the acid test.
Yes.
And that's how it should be if you want your...
Have you had complaints from various governments about doing this?
I bet we can know the answer to that.
I haven't had direct complaints to me. I've had sort of like some indirect complaints. I think people are a little concerned about complaining to me directly in case I tweet about it. You know. They're like, uh-oh.
Love that. That's awesome.
So they sort of tend to be more roundabout than that. You know, I mean, if I got something that was unconstitutional from the U.S. government, I would say, my reply would be to send them a copy of the, First Amendment.
Lovely. Don't we love that?
And just say, like, what part of this are we getting wrong?
You have a lot of government contracts.
What part of this are we getting wrong? Please tell me.
I mean, it's a pretty... No, I'm just saying, but you're kind of exposed in your other businesses. So this is, just in case our viewers aren't following this, this is not... You're not just like a journalist taking a stand on behalf of the First Amendment. You're a guy with big government contracts.
In other words, you stand to lose your entire livelihood and a lot of money if you stand up to the government that wants to continue spying on all the users of this platform that you now own. Why do it? Why risk that?
Giving the finger to the government. Do you think Twitter will be as central to this presidential campaign as it was in the last several?
I'm interested to hear this answer, and I actually have not heard him. I haven't heard this clip yet. I had heard the very beginning of it, but I'm blind reacting to this right now. I'm interested to hear his answer to this because I would argue that TikTok is going to be infinitely more impactful for the next presidential election than Twitter. If we look at the midterms just a few months ago, that was exactly true. TikTok drove the results of the midterm elections a few months ago, and nobody saw that coming. So I'm interested to see what he's going to say here.
I think it will play a significant role in elections, not just domestically, but internationally. The goal of New Twitter is to be as fair and even-handed as possible, so not favoring any political ideology.
I can appreciate that. I can absolutely appreciate that. And I'm hopeful that he lives up to that promise because that's what social media is supposed to be all about, is exposing people to different ways of thinking, different perspectives, having an open forum conversation and connecting people from all over the world. Look, I could talk until I'm blue in the face about TikTok. And in fact, I have on this stream and all over the internet. You don't have to agree with my assessment. You don't have to download the app yourself. Craig, thank you so much for donating in our YouTube super chat. So unbelievably grateful for you. You said, I'm 63 old. You're not old. We have old voices. We must have people like you. Bright, winsome, powerful. Thank you. God bless you. And your fiance. Very, very sweet. Thank you so much, Craig. I really appreciate you. Again, you guys do not have to agree with my assessment on TikTok. You don't have to download it for yourself. You don't have to become the new Charlie D'Amelio with 300 million followers on this platform, pouring your heart and soul into a platform that you don't want to be on, okay? But I want to challenge you enough with having this conversation over and over and over again that if you still are in this TikTok evil, everything else good camp, what more needs to be said to prove to you that TikTok is not the problem? What is missing for you? And you might have feedback for me. Drop that in the live chat because genuinely I want to know. What more needs to happen beyond proving that it was Meta not wanting to compete with TikTok that planted a year ago a plan through media and politics to change American public opinion about this app, even if there's no foundational basis for it whatsoever. Beyond proving that Meta has sold your data to the CCP at least twice that we've caught them, and to Russia, and probably infinitely other times, and that the U.S. government, the people who are supposed to be protecting our rights, are instead spying on their own citizens through platforms like Twitter that generally right-of-center people seem to really like, that we uphold, that we support, particularly since Elon bought the platform, and that there's no evidence whatsoever, not one story. I challenge any of you to go find one for me. No evidence whatsoever that TikTok has ever given your data to the Chinese Communist Party. And our mainstream media outlets that have been bought off by Meta for the last year are now finally starting to admit that. What more needs to be said to you to at least just get you thinking that maybe TikTok is not the problem and maybe it's a scapegoat for all of the other things that Congress and the White House and the Justice Department and other various government agencies don't want you to see, don't want you to be aware of? It's a hell of a lot easier to point the finger at the evil Chinese-owned app that's poisoning the minds of youth than admit we have just as much, if not more, content poisoning the minds of youth everywhere else on the internet. Rampant pornography on Twitter, death threats in my Instagram DMs every single day. The Taliban having an account on Twitter, to bring that full circle from our View conversation. I see more pro-God, pro-America, pro-biological gender, pro-objective truth content on TikTok than any other platform on the internet combined. Probably because there's 150 million Americans on this platform, 60% of whom are Gen Zers who are hungry for dialogue. They're hungry for content that they're not finding anywhere else. On Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. They're finding it on TikTok. I see minds and hearts and lifestyles changed every day on TikTok that I don't see on any other platform. And part of me has to wonder if this grassroots, authentic, short-form style of communication that's replacing traditional media and traditional journalism poses a threat to the people in power versus everybody else. I believe it absolutely does, which is why they want to shut down that platform to begin with. They're already in bed with Meta and with Google, who owns YouTube, and with Twitter. They're not with TikTok. So they can't control the narrative nearly as much. That's the real problem, from my perspective, happening with TikTok, and that's what they're admitting. Their entire bill to ban the platform doesn't even say the word TikTok. It's used as a Trojan horse to usher in the modern Patriot Act that, by the way, puts the Patriot Act to shame. Would essentially make us North Korea with the level of surveillance that the Restrict Act, which if you haven't read, you need to go read it, would provide overnight in the United States of America. So I ask you, if you want to challenge me on that, if you genuinely believe TikTok is this evil platform stealing all of your data, tell me what else needs to be said to prove to you that it's not TikTok that's the problem, but that they're using TikTok as a scapegoat to cover up for all of the other bullshit that's happening in Washington, D.C. and around the country. Drop it in the chat. That's a challenge for you. Genuinely. I don't know what else needs to be said. MRock has a really interesting point in our locals chat. Some days I imagine Meta, and really all apps, are like a TV or an appliance, and I unplug them just to watch everyone implode, LOL. Alex says you need to debate Matt Walsh. He wants TikTok gone. I would love to. I would love to have that conversation. There's a lot of people in the industry that I work in that want TikTok gone. I think they don't have all the right information. I think they're operating on a limited set of facts because they aren't on TikTok themselves, so they don't really see what's on the platform. All they see is the clips from Libs of TikTok. And don't get me wrong, Libs of TikTok is doing the freaking Lord's work. Like, I am so grateful for her. She is unpacking so much of this insanity that's happening culturally in America today, but that is not the entirety of the platform. And when you're not on the platform, it's easy to think that it is. So I think they're just not operating with the whole story and the whole picture there. Josh Levi says, TikTok still bans people for not agreeing with the views that the company does not like. Correct. And that is the major problem that I have had with the platform so far. I'm very vocal about that. I've had my account permanently deleted like 7 times, and I swear my account is like the Lazarus of social media accounts, where it always gets resurrected from the dead every single time. I have had so many videos taken down talking about biological gender and objective truth, but that's also true on Twitter. I've had my account suspended on Twitter infinitely because of COVID misinformation. Or just the other day, you saw Michael Knowles and Kristen Hawkins and so many other people's accounts suspended for retweeting, for just sharing the graphic about the Trans Day of Vengeance, bringing attention to it. And all of a sudden, they were cited for community guidelines violations. To this day, even after Elon has bought the platform, this is happening. You see people's accounts get suspended on Instagram, or at least don't have the ability to go live, or their posts get taken down or fact-checked. You see that happen on YouTube. You see that happen on Facebook. So that's not a unique to TikTok problem. I think that's an internet culture problem that requires a much more nuanced view about Section 230 of the Telecommunications Act and how we protect free speech in the digital age. But yes, Josh, I totally agree with you. That's a problem on the platform that I am willing to fight. But I think it's more important for me to be on that platform and get people to see that type of content and still risk getting banned than not be there at all. Because if people like me aren't over there, are they ever going to be exposed to this type of conversation, to this perspective? Maybe not. Altorna says China has banned Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, and many others. Yes. And what's so fascinating to me about the congressional hearings about banning TikTok is we actually had congressmen and women who say that they want to ban this app because it's owned by China and China is bad, say out loud, well, China has banned this app. Its own citizens can't use TikTok. Why can't we be more like China in censoring the information that our citizens have access to through social media? We should be more like China. We should be more like an authoritarian communistic state. Not just for TikTok, but for all kinds of social media stuff. Both sides of the aisle openly saying this out loud on Capitol Hill. The people that we voted for. Insane. Josh says if TikTok does get banned, then all of the social media companies should be banned because they all sell data to government. Correct. And that's what my point of this entire conversation is. This is not a unique to TikTok problem at all. This is a social media and data privacy and data security problem, which absolutely exists. But I find it oddly suspicious that they're pinning this on just one platform. Bobanak over on Rumble has a lot of really great stuff to say. He says, never give up privacy for safety. It never ends well. This is a, hey, look, it's an eagle distraction. The problem is that they're not trying to ban TikTok. They're trying to use it as an excuse to spy and arrest dissidents that aren't buying the government's bullshit. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Could not have said that better myself. Lots being said in our YouTube chat right now. Red Scorpion says, I'm not saying that TikTok is stealing your data. I'm just saying TikTok is full of toxic content. Fair. Totally fair. So is every other social media platform. So is YouTube, where you're watching right now. I believe, personally, I have a greater moral obligation to reach the almost entirety of my generation that is on TikTok consuming content every day with countercultural content that might get my account banned. It might get a strike on some of my content. I might violate community guidelines. I don't know what's going to happen. I might get death threats and bad comments and people being mean to me. But I have a greater sense of moral obligation to put that content out there anyway than to say, you know, it's too toxic, I don't want to be there. Because if people like me aren't regularly challenging the narrative, the almost entirety of my generation that is on TikTok may never hear that message. Which, for the record, is exactly why there was no red wave several months ago in the midterms. I warned you about that for 9 months, and nobody believed me. But the complete abdication of our responsibility to go where culture is in fighting this culture war and then have the audacity to say that we're winning blows my mind. It is impossible for us to change culture and win a culture war, which is upstream from politics, right? It was Andrew Breitbart that famously said politics is always downstream from culture. That's true. If you can change cultural norms, you will change politics. This is the long game that the left has been playing for decades and decades and decades. So if culture is upstream from politics, and we're fighting a culture war for, frankly, the soul of America and the future of the Western world and objective reality and truth as we know it, how can we win a culture war if we're not willing to go where culture is, which today is TikTok? We have not just the opportunity, but the obligation to go where culture is and try with all of our might to change it from the inside out. We might not win, but at least we tried. At least we showed up. I think my head is actually about to implode if I hear one more person with a microphone ask conservatives in America if they are tired of winning when we are literally not showing up for the fight and then have the audacity to say that we're still winning. There is a state in America that's thinking about taking away custody of your children if you're not buying into what they were indoctrinated of on TikTok and in their classrooms with gender theory and want to change their gender. That's actually happening right now in the United States of America. The United Nations is literally seeking to decriminalize sex with children and take away the age of consent with children. If you think we're winning in the midst of this, it brings me no joy, no happiness to tell you that we're losing. I wish I could tell you that we're winning. But I think we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to the next generation, and we owe it to our country and our world to at least have the wherewithal to look in the mirror and say, you know, we're not doing so hot right now. Maybe it's time to change our strategy. Maybe it's time to go where culture is and reach people where they're at and speak in a language that they understand and go to their favorite social media platforms and create interesting countercultural content there that brings people to where they need to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that's just me. But I swear, this let's ban TikTok, rah, 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 bipartisan support happening in America today, while the owner of Twitter is literally saying, actually, several various government agencies have been reading your DMs, and we have a problem over here, and Meta is known to have sold your data everywhere. And so we're using this data privacy thing as a scapegoat to forget about all the things that are happening domestically. And then we say, okay, we'll get over that. It's just the toxic content thing. Like, we don't want to go where toxic content is. If I hear either one of these excuses one more time, I think I'm just going to vomit, to be honest with you. Which is why we talk about it here on the stream and why we've gone above and beyond to try to just bring the truth to people in any way that we can, anytime that we can, on any platform that we can. So I appreciate your guys' support, helping us with this important cultural battle that we are in right now to bring the truth to Generation Z. I want to get one more take from our locals chat really quick on this subject before we transition into our Q&A. African Warlord says, banning TikTok, a business, seems to be both unconstitutional and anti-capitalist. I don't like TikTok or most social media, so I don't use them. That's why you're over on locals, because it's a community, not social media, so I'm glad you're here. Problem solved. If there are fears of Chinese spyware, it should be investigated and revealed. People then can make their choice to use it or not. Isn't that exactly what happened with Facebook? Could not have said it better myself, African Warlord. And I am so glad that you joined us in our community on Locals, where we can have more back and forth conversation. You guys can post stuff to me. I can post stuff to you. And we have all kinds of exclusive stuff that exists only over there. I'm dropping the link right now to this stream over on Locals so that you guys have the chance to join us for our Q&A, which is happening exclusively over there here in just a few minutes. Don't forget that tomorrow over there, we will have a brand new episode of our series on faith and the church, Domus, and I'm super excited to be sharing that with you guys. Plus, our series on dating and relationship culture, breaking down modern lies and bringing people the truth, is back on Tuesday. What a time to be alive. I can't believe the week is like halfway over. Also that it's almost May, which is blowing my mind. We are back with the stream tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, and I can't wait to share even more crazy thoughts about what is happening in culture. Tomorrow is going to be a spicy one. I can promise you that. Do me a favor before you leave and like this episode if you're watching it on any platform. Like hit the little thumbs up or the heart button. Hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have the capacity to repost this stream, which several of you do, I know, especially over on Facebook and Getter. Hit that little button for me. As an independent creator, it makes all the difference in the entire world to me. And I'm just so very glad that all of you guys are here. Love you all so very much. Stick around on Locals or join us over on Locals for our Q&A for about 15 minutes. And otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern for our stream. Don't go anywhere, Locals. We will be right back.